1.5 million fake accounts were employees in branches were given daily sales targets, resulted stability. The performance looked strong. Revenues rose. Cross-sell ratio held. Stock price climbed. For more than a century, Wells Fargo represented stability. Founded in 1852, bank built its reputation on trust, conservatism, and discipline. By the mid of 2010, it served over 70 million customers, employed more than 260,000 people, and held assets exceeding 1.8 trillion. Its market value crossed $250 billion. It was considered as one of the safest banks in America. If this can happen in one of the most respected institutions, what does it say about relying on reputation as a control? Inside Wells Fargo, one number mattered more than anything else: cross-sell ratio, the average number of products sold to each customer. While most banks averaged 4 to 5 products per customer, Wells Fargo reported 8. Internally, this number was celebrated as a proof of superior customer relationships. But the metrics don't just measure performance, they shape behavior. What metrics did your board celebrate, and what behaviors might have silently been encouraged? Employees in branches were given daily sales targets: checking accounts, saving accounts, credit cards, and online services. Missed the target, consequences followed. Warnings, lost incentives, demotions, termination. Employees later described the environment as highly demanding, with significant pressure to meet sales expectations, even in situations where customer demand may not have aligned with targets. When goals are structurally unattainable, who is accountable, the employee or the system? Over time, investigations and regulatory findings revealed that some employees engaged in practices such as opening accounts without explicit customer consent, creating email records, and issuing debit or credit products that customer had not requested. Customers in certain cases incurred fees, experienced account-related issues, or reported impacts to their credit profiles. Regulators later reported that between 2009 and 2016, over 3.5 million unauthorized accounts were created. The activity persisted over several years before being fully addressed. So how does this misconduct at this scale survive internal audits, compliance teams, and management reviews? During this period, Wells Fargo terminated more than 5,300 employees. Publicly, this was represented as accountability. However, some employees later stated that terminations were often linked to performance pressures and target shortfalls, raising the questions about how accountability was distributed within organization. Whistleblowers tried to speak up. They used ethics hotlines, they escalated concerns, they warned of systematic pressure. Some were ignored, some were retaliated against, some lost their jobs. The issues continued until regulatory intervention brought broader visibility. If whistleblowers are punished and targets are rewarded, what behavior will speed faster? The senior leadership performance looked strong. Revenues rose. Cross-sell ratio held. Stock price climbed. On paper, strategy was working. This is where scandal becomes a governance failure. Internal audits flagged issues. Employee surveys showed fear. Turnover spiked. Yet, executive incentives stayed tied to sales performance. Between 2010 and 2016, senior leaders earned tens of millions of dollars in performance-linked pay. So what is the role of board? Does your board review how results are achieved, or only that they are achieved? In 2016, regulators stepped in. Wells Fargo agreed to pay $185 million in fine. The bank admitted to widespread unauthorized account creation. Congressional hearings followed. CEO testified. Leadership initially described the misconduct as the work of frontline employees. Public rejected that explanation. When leadership blames the bottom of the organization, what does the signal about accountability at the top speak of? As investigations expanded, findings increasingly pointed towards systemic issues, including the design of incentive structures and oversight mechanisms. Employees were punished for resisting, managers were rewarded for numbers, executives were insulated by distance. In 2017, the CEO resigned. In 2018, regulators imposed an unprecedented penalty by asset cap and blocking Wells Fargo's growth until governance failures were fixed. This was not a fine. This was a verdict on trust. By 2020, total penalties, settlements, and remediation costs exceeded $3 billion. Millions of customers were refunded. Executives forfeited compensations. But the deeper damage was reputational. Customers questioned loyalty. Employees questioned ethics. Investors questioned board oversight. Wells Fargo had all policies. It had controls, it had audits. What it lacked was governance courage. When was the last time your board challenged success instead of celebrating it? Wells Fargo scandal did not erupt overnight. It unfolded quietly, quarter after quarter, hidden behind strong numbers. That's why it lasted so long. Governance is not tested in crisis. It is always tested in comfort. What risks are growing quietly while all our dashboards look green? More than 3.5 million fake accounts were not created because employees were dishonest. They were created because honesty was penalized. And that is Wells Fargo scandal. Not a failure of regulation, not a failure of systems, but a failure to ask early enough, what behavior are we really rewarding?